Hello, in this video we will show you how to remove the upper intake manifold on a FD Mazda RX-7. Alright, let's get started. The first step is to remove the battery cover. And we're going to go ahead and disconnect the negative battery terminal. And now we're going to be removing the intercooler front piping right here, and we're going to start off with these clamps. I'm going to pull out and wiggle out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to unlatch the throttle cable. And the way you do that is you push the throttle up and then you pull out the cable. I'm going to start removing this component, but with some vacuum hoses, I'm going to use a marker and just make sure that I mark things so I know where they go. And now we're going to remove this black component here using a 10mm socket. Looks like these are pretty on there, but I'm going to twist off. This will help to get it off. There it goes. And next we're going to be removing the bracket to the throttle body cable, and we want to do that instead of messing with the cable's adjustment. And let's see. And let's see if we could use a ratchet wrench on this one. I believe we can. Yep. You might be able to undo these with their hand. And I'm going to go ahead and put some tape on one of these hoses so I know kind of where these hoses go. Oh, that's on there pretty good. All right, we got one off. I don't want to break anything here because a lot of this stuff is old. Two. And we're now going to remove this 12mm bolt. I'm using a ratchet wrench. And it's loose. All right. And we're now going to remove these little clamps off these vacuum hoses. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove this one as well. And then I'm going to disconnect this ground right here. And we're now going to disconnect this hose that goes to the intake pipe, and then this hose as well. That's a long hose. All right, we got that one off. And we're now going to remove 4 captive bolt heads to the intake pipe here. 1, 2, and 2 in the bottom using an extension. Make sure you don't drop them. And I'm using a magnet so it doesn't fall down. Make sure I'm getting these washers real quick. So I'm able to access the 4th bolt actually with a small extension. The only thing is I recommend using the magnet. And now we could remove the intake pipe. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take off 4 of these bolt nuts. That one's on there pretty good. That one too. And there's another bolt nut right here. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one long one on the top. And we're now going to take off these big bolts off the main throttle body. And there's 4 of them. And we're now going to remove the TPS connector. We're going to disconnect these solenoid connectors by gently pushing in and pushing out. And we're going to remove these bolts. I'm going to take off this hose right here because it's in the way of getting one of the connectors in the back. All right, there's a white connector back here, and you just have to pull it out because it's one of the ones you have to get off in order for it to come off. So I removed the upper intake manifold and flipped it over so I could actually show you the connectors that you're going to have to remove. One right here, and the air temperature sensor connector that we're replacing. Now also you have to disconnect some vacuum hoses. Just make sure you know what direction they go and route them correctly when you put them back on. All right, we got a ground here we need to take off. It's a 12 millimeter. So let's take it off. And now we'll remove it. So I left the throttle body on the car, and the reason why is I didn't want to remove the coolant hose. Now you can remove the coolant hose if you want to remove the throttle body completely, but I didn't want to introduce any air or make any mess, and I was able to remove the intake manifold without removing the throttle body. All right, so you got your intake manifold off. For whatever reason you need to do it, one of the things I recommend you do is just make sure that you order some extra gaskets. What I did is I reached out to Crowe, who's pretty famous in the RX7 community. I emailed him and he sent me out some gaskets for the manifold and for the throttle body and some other miscellaneous things. I'm really excited that we could still get this stuff. I'll put his email in the description, but just make sure that you replace anything you need to while you have this manifold off. Vacuum hoses, look at things, just make sure that everything's looking good before you reassemble everything. Now I'm going to do the reinstallation myself off camera, but I'm going to provide a couple of links, and right here is the image from the factory manual where you could see how much torque you need on the specific bolts. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if it was helpful, please press the like button. We welcome you to subscribe. Thank you for watching. You take care, and we'll see you soon.